Take advantage of the day. When you get an opportunity in this game, you make a play. The playmakers on three. 1, 2, 3.
Touchdown, Kansas City! The Chiefs are right in the thick of it, baby!
Hello, Chiefs Kingdom. We are right there, man. We are a week away from playing football and opening the curtain on the entire National Football League season. This is Defending the Kingdom. Mitch Holthus with you, voice of the Chiefs, along with the man that we know as the Shop, the Barber Shop, the Barber, the Spider-Man, 10-year National Football League veteran, Shawn Barber. And I'm going to say this, Shawn, as I introduce you this week. Spags came up to me at the ring ceremony. Okay, now it's not like he's watching our shows all the time, but he did see some in the off season. And I said, you saw me 200 yards away at camp, right in my little tent over there. But he said, let me tell you something about Shawn. Shawn was the best knee bend linebacker I think I ever had. And he wasn't saying that, oh, you're working with him. And I know Spags now enough to know it was truth. So I'm going to introduce you that way as the best knee bending linebacker that Spags ever had. Can you still bend your knees?
Of course I can. I can still run a 4.5, maybe a 4.6, but it's 30-yard dash now instead of a 40. So I had to cut the distance down to keep the speed up. So, but man, Coach Spagnuolo is a great. He's been a mentor of mine ever since I got a chance to work with him and be a player under him in Philadelphia. And he's a guy that showed me the game. I was an athlete. I knew how to play. I was a playmaker. I could be around the ball. But there was times in the defense where I cowboyed it. I would put on my Superman cape and try to make somebody else's play. And Coach Spags would always reel me back in and say, "Hey, man, that's not your play. Thank you. You got us a tip ball. You got pressure on the quarterback, but that really wasn't your fit in the defense." And coordinators will see that and take advantage of it. You made a play, but you were out of position and you're hurting the integrity of the defense. And it wasn't until he sat me down and showed me what he meant by that I realized all 11 guys have to be on the same accord for a defense to go up to the next level, not just my individual play.
Hold that thought. Hang on to that thought, Shop. Okay, don't take it and put it in the freezer. Hang on to that thought. A reminder that the Defending the Kingdom with Shop and myself is brought to you by these Bose headphones 700. They are terrific. 11 levels of noise cancellation. You're getting ready for the real NFL season. We're getting ready to play ball. A lot of you work at home. A lot of you got to sometimes chill at home and figure out how I'm going to work at home, but now I got to chill. Bose headphones, these 700 Bose headphones will let you do both. Go to their website. You can check it out at bose.com and look for these 700 headphones. They're so good, though. My wife wanted to use my other Bose headphones, and I told her, you know what, yours is mine and what's mine is mine, so I'll just keep them both. She's got my other ones. So I said, I'm going to take these bad boys because they are pretty awesome. Now, keep that thought that you just had because we're going to talk about, I think, one of the could be the most impactful players in the entire NFL in 2020 based on what I've seen in training camp. Before we start that, though, you said you still ran a 4.540. If you're racing the Cheetah, what kind of head start would you have to beat the Cheetah?
I've seen the Cheetah race against Terrell Owens. I saw him race against Mecole Hardman. So I've seen him beat a Jet. I've seen him beat Terrell.
But Dieter got a head start. He beats Dieter. What did Dieter start at? 10 yards?
On a 40-yard dash, I'm gonna need about 20 yards. I mean, the Cheetah comes out the gate. He goes from zero to top speed in about 6 or 7 yards. I'm 45 years old. It takes me some build up. It takes me a good 12 to 15 yards to even get to third gear, much less the 6th, 7th gear that Cheetah got.
Where would you put me, Shop? How much would I need? Where would you start me?
Ooh, you might want to race against Rich Eisen. You might want to do that the charity deal. I'm pretty sure you'll get Rich. You'll get him. He's coming in right around that 5'1", 5'2" area. I think you'll give Rich a run for his money.
At the combine when he runs in his suit. I think that's pretty cool. I'll do that. All right, let's jump back to what you were talking about and what Spags wanted you to do when you played for him, and that is do your assignment, be disruptive within the scheme, how impactful you can be, because I want to jump into Chris Jones. Now, this Defending the Kingdom will be entitled The Good Beast, Stone Cold. The Good Beast, because we got some bad beasts, and we don't want to go to where the bad beasts are, but we are going to go where the good beasts are. based on the training camp that I have seen, Shawn, oh my gosh, he might have been the MVP of this whole training camp, of truncated camp. Last week, in about 3 practices, they couldn't block him. He like wrecked the practice to the point where you could see like Big Red going, are we supposed to go inside and try to redo this now? Chris Jones to me, and we know he extended his contract, okay? We also know he won a Super Bowl and got a ring on Tuesday night. I'm seeing nothing from him but trying to be way better. He said he wants to be great. When you hear that from him, and it looks like he's doing that in practice, what do you see? What do you think?
Man, greatness is a concept that has to come internally. No, there is no statistic, whether he leads the leagues in sacks or in pressures, or he's available for 90% of the defense. Like, all of those things are just figures. They're just things that he could have a great 2 or 3 weeks with multiple sacks and end up with more sacks this year than last year off of 5 or 6 great games. But he's talking about a level of play that's so consistent. He's talking about being double teamed every play, demanding to be double teamed every play, having such respect from the offensive coordinator from another team that they wouldn't dare leave one guy one-on-one with him. That is what he's talking about. It's a level of respect that comes with playing with a passion and a purpose every down, and an aggressive nature that's not worried about any other play than the one you're currently in. And he has the ability, from a physical standpoint, with his long arms, the level of his pad play, the way he relocates and dislocates and just throws offensive linemen out the way to get, and he's going right up the gut. He's going up that A gap, B gap. He's has a direct line path to the quarterback. He's always in the quarterback's line of sight, so they always have to be worried about batted balls, not only his pressure, his sacks, but he gets his hands and he affects plays so many ways. Chris Jones, he's on that same discussion when you talk about Aaron Donald and Chris Jones back and forth. They're on the same discussion as who is the most disruptive D-line player in the league.
Shop, we're going to talk a lot more about that because there's 3 different points of this discussion with Chris Jones. Now, going back to last year, Pro Football Focus ranked him as the 7th best interior lineman in the National Football League. I'm going, okay, I can think of Aaron Donald. Now, who else have we got? And I love Pro Football Focus, don't get me wrong, but I think there's times, like I went to Hy-Vee and got the aisles online that brought my stuff out to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, thank you so much. Tip the dude, and he goes, yeah, I gotta go grade some tape for Pro Football Focus. I'm like, who's grading this tape, right? I just, and it's like anything else. If I agree with it, it's good. If it's not, I don't like it. But I'm like 7th best interior lineman. So here's the other dynamic. I've seen this. I've only been in this league 27 years. Mm-hmm. A defensive lineman getting the 2nd contract sometimes leads to a decrease in play. I'm just putting it out there. With Chris, I've seen this so far. We'll see how this translates starting next week against Houston. I'm seeing just the opposite. He was practicing like Kelsey practiced this camp. And those 2 guys acted like they weren't Pro Bowlers. They acted like they were undrafted free agents trying to make the team.
I had a chance to have a discussion with Chris's parents as we was approaching the playoffs. He was still injured. He was coming back. He was fighting his butt off to get back healthy, to be able to be a part of the playoff run. And after I had a discussion with his parents, I realized his spiritual foundation is so much stronger than his physical. Physically, he's going to do what he has to do to be a great ball player, but he serves a master that's way beyond what we're talking about on the field. His spiritual strength is he's always trying to achieve a next level. He's proven to himself what he can do on a day-to-day basis. He's proven to himself what his own excellence. And whether the film is on him, whether the coach is trying to coach him up, he's trying to showcase his abilities and his skills because he's trying to show somebody, God has blessed me to do something. In any snap less than my best is a disgrace to somebody he's serving, and that's our Lord and our Savior. So his spiritual background, his spiritual motivation, the way he plays like there's a camera and a spotlight on him on every down of every play, and that's something a lot of players they can't recreate that feeling if they're only chasing dollars. If they're chasing contractual satisfaction, there's a point in time when your numbers, your stats, it's going to force the team to pay you. And then let's see what you got now. Let's see what your character, let's see if you have the same integrity and character when you're being paid than when you got drafted and you weren't being paid.
But what I saw in camp with Chris Jones is do your work heartily, right? Do your work heartily. And that's what he was doing here. And Houston, Mississippi, baby, home of the Hilltoppers. Go Toppers. I don't know if they're playing. I hope they are. But it leads me to something. I got a text this week from one of our Defending the Kingdom season ticket holders. He listens to every word. He's one of those dudes that runs and listens to it, right? And he's a West Point graduate, but he's read a book called Grit with Angela Duckworth, who wrote it. And effort times talent equals skill. Skill times effort equals achievement were the quotes that she had used that he sent, because he was listening to last week's podcast. But even with Chris here, we're going to hear from Chris in a second. But with Chris Jones, I'm just hopeful, Shop, that he's going to an even different level. And after this interview, we're going to jump into some of the stuff he talks about. But we're seeing something different potentially from Chris that could make him, if not equal or better than Aaron Donald of the Rams, darn close.
Yeah, and one thing I think about Chris is he'll show Aaron Donald the respect. He'll show the all-time great linemen their respect. He knows about them, the Reggie Whites. He knows about the Strahans. He knows there's been some phenomenal athletes playing this position. But when you get down to the core of what does Chris Jones expect from himself, it's every day, just simply be better. Be better than I was a day ago. Learn something. Learn another technique. Learn another the hand fights, the hip placement, how to beat. As the offensive skill levels get better, I want to beat an all-pro tackle the same way I beat a rookie off the street. And the result is a guy who is fearless. There is no offensive line that he goes into the game thinking, I'm going to have a tough day. If he plays the way he has the ability to play, there isn't a way to block. It's the same way as Pat Mahomes. If Pat Mahomes is on his A game, the defense, Katie Barty Gates try to keep us under 50. When Pat is on his game, the basement is 50. When Chris Jones is at his best, when he's on his game, a 3-4 sack game is not something that is beyond his capability. He has the ability each and every series to get to the quarterback. And it's a matter of just that tenacity and building up that perseverance, that patience. He knows what he has, and he has to just make sure he's bringing it on a snap-by-snap basis, being very consistent, down by down, series by series. And it's all internally, and he understands that. So when you can throw skill level out the door and it's all an internal thing, then that's what he's been working on. He's been working on his own self-motivation, how to be a guy who's on a leadership role in this team, because no longer is Chris Jones a little man. He's now a leader on this team, and I'm looking so forward to seeing him being unleashed upon the league in 2020.
Yeah, thanks to Chris McGowan, one of our Defending the Kingdom loyalists, for that nugget. But here's the thing. You and I can talk. If we don't live it, it's just noise. And with Chris Jones, it's not just talking, he's living it. Now, at the end of camp, the team is now transitioned. They have transitioned to full-on get ready for the Houston Texans to open up our Red Friday kickoff edition on a week from Thursday night on September the 10th. We had a chance. Matt McMullen and I had a chance at the end of camp to set Chris Jones down and have a chat with him. And there are some very interesting comments here from Stone Cold.
I think with COVID and everything, we had a few extra weeks to rest our legs and kind of recover from prior injuries from the season. I actually took advantage of that time and prepared myself for camp. And we was fortunate enough to make it happen to have camp. And I came out and gave it my all. Made sure I pushed my teammates every day and made sure I challenged that offense. You know, we have such a dynamic offense with the weapons and Pat Mahomes, and I made sure we competed every day at the highest level.
So, Chris, you guys were the best defense in the NFL toward the end of last season. You're coming into this camp. You guys are playing that way, just looking really, really good, challenging this offense every day. You know, second year in Spag's system, how much more comfortable is everyone? How much further along are you guys as a defense this time compared to this time last year?
You know, with that comfortability comes with playing time and playing with one another and getting that feel of one another, you know, and playing within the scheme of the defense and knowing what his Spag's going to call in different type of situations. You can kind of prepare a little better than you would last year. And I feel like we just picked up where we left off, and this defense has a huge chip on his shoulder. You know, we're like the second brother of the team. You know, you got Pat Mahomes, who got this explosive offense. Him and Coach Reed and EB, and they kind of take up all the spotlight from the defense. And we want to show that we're not only a team that plays offense, but we have a great defense also. So you know, we're like the second brother, and we have a chip on our shoulder, and we come out and competing every day, man. From the back end to the inside.
You look like you were the big brother the last couple days out here. But I got to ask you, everybody gets into sacks, and I get all that. However, you can be so disruptive at the line of scrimmage. We saw those passes deflected. When I'll review video, I'll see you knock down or deflect a pass that would have been maybe a 30-yard gain. What about your ability to disrupt the play even if you're not getting a sack?
Yeah, it was hard to accept that over time. You know, it wasn't all about sacks. And I kind of understood that, you know, it's multiple ways to affect the game with my playing ability other than sacks. You know, sacks are a huge part of it. But, you know, sometimes you're not going to be able to get to the quarterback within the scheme of the offense, whatever they're running, whether you have two guys on you or whether they're sliding to you. So you got to find different ways to kind of get your teammates involved and then still make plays.
Okay, Shop, there's a lot to unpack here now in that interview, and I loved it. I'm seeing him grow up. But let's take this first one. And we alluded to it before the interview, but he does not seem satisfied with either a Super Bowl ring or a second contract. And we have seen many guys in this league, especially at that position, that become exactly that.
Man, I played with a few of them, whether it was Dana Stubblefield. There's a lot of Bruce Smith at the end of his career when I was with the Redskins. We talk about guys that are, and it doesn't always have to be a money thing. It can be an achievement thing. If you said to yourself, I want to end my career with a certain amount of sacks, and you're within 2 or 3 of getting that number, then every play becomes an opportunity for the sack. And you give up the integrity of the defense chasing sacks. That is one of the things that is a detriment to the overall success of this defense. If anybody feels like themselves need to start chasing individual success, individual achievement, even individual respect in this league, it can cost our entire defense the integrity of the defense by one person thinking that they are more important than the entire defense.
Yep, that can be lethal. Second part here was putting the heat on the Chiefs offense. He talked about a point of putting the heat on the Chiefs offense, and again, they couldn't block him in camp unless Assembly was in there. Assembly could handle him a little bit, but he was a wrecking crew. But this defense of the Chiefs was putting pressure on the offense in training camp. What about that?
Well, I know when we talk about defensive backs and how do our defensive backs achieve a next level, well, our offensive wide receiver core is the best in the league. And you have to go against that level of competition on a day-to-day basis. It got to raise your ability up to the next level. I see the same thing happening with our offensive line facing our D-line. When you're facing against a guy like Chris Jones and Frank Clark and Nadi and those guys on a day-to-day basis, you have to come every day with you have to pack that lunch and be ready for a full day of getting somebody else's best, because if not, they'll put you on your rear, they'll make you look really bad, and nobody wants to look bad on tape. So the intensity level and the attention to detail and the alignment assignment details by one Chris Jones, and as that spread amongst the defensive line, that's going to make our entire team, when we talk about in the trenches, the guys that are in the trenches, the offensive line and defensive lines, as they go, your team will go. There is no choice in the NFL. You will not go anywhere if your offensive defensive line isn't a tough, went through some things, got a bunch of scar tissue, and have each other's back. And that's the one thing you find in training camp. When you're fighting every day and going at it, yeah, it gets a little chippy. Yeah, you want to fight each other a little bit, but it's a good chippy. Because when the season comes around and now that jersey changes color, that all of a sudden that foe changes color, now you're getting after somebody else's butt, and that defensive line is putting pressure on somebody else's quarterback, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, it's something you and I heard on a Zoom call Monday night. We were on with the leaders, business leaders, and folks in the community of iron sharpening iron, and that's exactly what I saw with this. All right, third, though, this leads to another point. This is where it gets interesting, because I heard this from the Honey Badger, too, when we had a chance to talk with him this spring and summer, and that is there's a little bit of a chip on the shoulder of the defense here, right? Offense gets a lot of attention, And I don't want to get it to a point where it's negative because that can fracture a team. Your defense, when you played for the Chiefs back in 2, 3, 4, right in there, when we had that incredible offensive line and Trent's quarterbacking and Priest is running and T. Rich and JD, but I'm thinking, we're not talking about some of our defensive guys here. I mean, it's easy to get lost. And Chris even mentioned the interview, even referred to his little brother or whatever. This team gets along. Coach Reed demands it. But there is a little bit of this defensive thinking, whoa, wait a minute here. And to me, it leads these guys into thinking, well, we may carry the day. We may carry the day a little bit at the beginning of the season and deserve some attention.
Yeah, and it comes with that national spotlight. Obviously, when you have a Super Bowl MVP quarterback, that they always going to be the face of the league. You got Tyreek Hill in our wide receiver core. You got the best tight end in the league. You have one of the best, two of the best offensive tackles. Like the offensive accolades, we can spend all day talking about. And then when it's time to spend some time on defense, it's like a game. You only got so much time left to mention Honey Badger, the linebackers, maybe a cornerback will step up, and then the 3 impactful defensive linemen we have. And then the show's over with. So you're like, oh, man, we didn't get our time in the shine. Where's our 15 minutes of fame? But defensively, as a defender, we've always hung our hat on one thing, keeping the other team out the end zone. So it doesn't, like, giving up yardage has been something, even when I played, we gave up record amount of yardage. We gave up 400 or 500 yards a snap in 2003 when I was part of that defense. But our defense, the mantra of our defense was to create turnovers. Our offense was so explosive, we didn't care about yardage. We just wanted to give the ball back. And so we tried to bait and trap. We had a lot of trap coverages. We had a lot of creating fumbles. That was the basic and the primary goal of our defense wasn't to keep you from getting yardage. It was to keep you out the end zone, but we wanted to create a turnover. In those years with Warfield and all the other guys I played with on defense, Vonnie Holliday, Dexter McCleon, all those great 2003, 4, and 5 defenses.
Romy Woods, G.
West. It was built on turnovers. And so we had to give a little to get a little. But we always got Trent and Priest, we got them the ball back so they could go put up those game show type numbers. This defense is built different. Steve Spagnuolo is a mastermind in creating defenses that take away your strength. It makes you beat us a different way. We're gonna fight. If you run between the tackles, if you run outside, bootleg, play action, whatever it is you do well, we're gonna force you to go away from that and kind of beat us left-handed if you can. But what we realize, we have so much defensive talent that sometimes we can play very vanilla. We don't always have to bring an extra man to create pressure. That is the importance of Chris Jones, Frank Clark, Derek Nottie. They can beat guys and get pressure on the quarterback and a 3-man pressure, a 4-man pressure. You don't have to give up the integrity on the back end to make sure that the quarterback is not holding the ball for 4 or 5 seconds. That is so important and impactful. And I think that's something at the end of last year, weeks 10 on, we did better than anyone in the entire NFL.
Now, the last part of our thesis in this edition of the Defending the Kingdom, and it's the Stone Cold, the Good Beast, is something that it's near and dear to our hearts. Because here's the thing. People love to play fantasy football. That's why we skew to the offense. Most of the numbers we play with, almost all of them in fantasy football, are offensive numbers. Defensive numbers, what do we have? Oh, we got picks and sacks, and that's about it. Okay. This goes to the last part of that interview that we had with Chris Jones. And it has to deal with all of the ways that you can wreck the pudding of the offense so many ways. Chris Jones is a personification of that. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl in large part because there were 4 defensive stops in a row at the end of the game. Down 10 points. Stop, 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 stop. In the last 11 plays that the 49ers ran in Super Bowl 54, Chris Jones affected directly 3 of them. 2 passes knocked down, just knocking it down like one of those big wind machines that create wind energy. And then another one that he tipped that would have been a completion for about 15 yards. As I look at it, he got just enough on it. The ball took a funny pattern. Incomplete. Okay. And we talked with Chris said, I had to come to the realization that it wasn't just about sacks. And I look at his numbers in his career in the regular season. These are just regular season numbers. 20 passes deflected. 7 forced fumbles. Forced fumbles is a stat that I look at if it's you or any defender. That means you're getting around the ball And when you're getting around the ball, something good is happening for the defense. He has 7 forced fumbles, those 20 passes defensed. Chris Jones doesn't need sacks to wreck an offense. And I think all of us in the Chiefs Kingdom listening to this, you and I understand it, but to me, okay, the pass deflected is the most underrated stat in all of football. Why? When I review video and I see you knock down a pass, just let's say Spag sent you on a blitz and you knock down a pass at the line of scrimmage, I can hear the collective groan of the offensive coordinator and the quarterback because they had the right play call against your blitz, and it was going to be a 35-yard play. I freeze the video and count and see where the open receiver is and goes, that's a 25-yard completion. Nope, it's not, because you knocked the pass down. But all we do, we put a PD, and we don't play fantasy football on PDs. I'm telling you, PDs are a big deal.
Pass deflections, especially, they're even emphasized even more when it's done at the line of scrimmage. It's one thing for a DB to be there on a contested ball and knock it down, because we know now we have some great wide receivers in the league. And on a 50-50 ball throw up, the D-Hops, the Michael Thomases, the great receivers of the NFL, they're going to come down with that ball most of the time. But what you do at a D lineman when you knock it down, which J.J. Watt is known for, now Chris Jones is known for it. When you do that, you take that 50% ball and you make it 0%. There is no way a batted ball at the line of scrimmage gets complete. You take those contested catch receivers and you take that from 50-50 to 0. It is such a game changer for the defense. And also with those tip balls, I believe half the interceptions in the league come off of a tip ball drill, something like that. And so it also can lead to a big turnover. So it's all good things for the defense when the defensive line is able to get hands on the ball. And it also messes with the subconscious of a quarterback, because he doesn't know if you're getting to him, you're going to throw your hands up. He has to change his arm slot. Now you're affecting with the rest of his mentality of the rest of the game based off of you just slapping the ball down. And the offensive coordinator is thinking, I got to get away from the quick game. I got to get away from the 3-step, because the D-line, they're not worried about getting pressure. They're sitting, they're playing the window. They're trying to do with the broomsticks and knock the ball down. So it creates such unknown. It creates a lot of question marks on so many different levels of the opponent's game plan. And so with Chris Jones, what he's doing now that is above and beyond what everybody's doing, he is doing it with a leadership level, because now guys are seeing the way he's penetrating and create penetration immediately. He gets to the quarterback for sacks and pressures. If he doesn't get there, he doesn't stop working. Now he's working to windows. He's finding windows to get in front of the quarterback's eyes, so now he can bat it ball down. Multiple ways to affect the passing game. And then in the running game, he's able to get in gaps, two-gap, disengage with potential blockers, making tackles for loss, tackles at the line of scrimmage. You think you got a running play all blocked out the right way. We saw it in the Tennessee game in the playoffs. Every time they thought they had a run blocked the right way, one of our defensive guys shot through a gap, the Noddies, the Saunders, the Frank Clarks, for a tackle for loss. That's how you take a team that think they have the ability to run against you, and you stifle that, and you make them one-dimensional, and then Sack Nation comes alive.
Guess what? Houston's going to want to run the ball. They're going to want to control the line of scrimmage. We're going to get into that next week. But here again, Chris Jones, and let's, kind of on deck in this discussion, I know we're talking about Chris Jones, the good beast, but Tano Passigno is not far behind in this discussion. If you look over in the on-deck circle, he's over there with the pine tar, getting ready to do his thing too, because he does a lot of the similar things. Go back and watch the playoffs and watch Tano Passigno and how he affects a game and doesn't get the stats always.
That's right. Great body type. If you look at the body types of him and Chris Jones, very similar. Long, rangy, great disruptive arms that can be in multiple passing lanes. And they use those long arms to keep people off of their frames. That's what great linemen do who are 6'6", 6'7", are really tall. They can't win the leverage battle because they have the height, but they can use those long arms to keep people off their frame, and that allows them to keep athletic and affect plays in so many different ways that's working towards. As a defensive coordinator, you have to have the intelligence and know how to use those guys. So we got to continue to tip our hat to Steve Spagnuolo for putting the guys like a Passigno, who couldn't find the field a couple seasons ago. He's putting them to make him an impact player. Chris Jones, we call him a good beast is like feeding that when you want to feed the good wolf or the bad wolf. It's two wolves that live inside of everybody. Yep. Chris Jones, he's feeding the right one, and that's allowed his potential and his skill level to rise up to the next level.
And that, to me, is the new Chris Jones. That's what you said it perfect. That's what I'm seeing from him, and I hope it translates to the regular season. Him and Passanio both, 7'3" wingspan. They go fingertip to fingertip to fingertip to fingertip. It's 15 feet. It's almost hash mark to hash mark. Good luck with that. Thanks to the folks at Bose, these Bose 700 headphones. You know, we can't have big concerts right now with the COVID pandemic and stuff. Oh, yeah, you can. You get these. You put on some music, you feel like you're in a concert. Do you not, Shop? You're like, I'm going to take off in space now, everybody. Goodbye. These are awesome.
No doubt, man. Hey, man, everybody know I got 6 kids, so my house stays a ruckus. But whenever it's time to get on involved with the Zoom, defending the kingdom, any kind of Zoom cast with the church, or any guys who are trying to do some work in the community, I put on these Bose, man, and it lets me zoom in and focus. We talk about attention to detail, alignment, assignment. Man, you put on these Bose, and all of a sudden everything else starts to dissipate. All the distractions start to go away, and I totally get focused in on what my job is. So I got to thank Bose for providing these earphones for us. They do hey, man, the job is done right here.
AAA batteries are small, but here's what I say about defense. It's AAA batteries, baby. It's a sign, a line, attack. You are the Shop. You are the barber shop. You are the Spider-Man. Congratulations on being one of the best knee benders that Coach Spagnuolo's ever coached. Thanks to the folks at Bose and these 700 headphones. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, to get the season started. We will preview the Houston Texan game next week. Me and the man they call the Shop. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs. Get ready to run it back.